Welcome to NHL Quick Hits. I'm David Crosby, and as I'm sure you've noticed, I'm here without my good friend and co-host Steele Roden, who is unfortunately under the weather right now, but the show must go on, and thankfully, Steele sent along his top 3 fantasy hockey waiver targets for me this week, so I'll do my best to break down both of our selections and why you should be looking their way on the waiver wires. As always, we'll start with players owned in 50% of fantasy leagues or less, and my target in Week 7 is a fantastic two-way center on Steele's favorite team in Minnesota, and that's Joel Eriksson Ek, who is owned in 48% of Yahoo leagues. Heading into Sunday's game in Tampa, Eriksson Ek was riding a 3-game point streak that included a pair of goals, a power play point, 5 hits, 2 penalty minutes, and a block, giving him 7 goals, 11 points, 27 hits, 14 blocks, and 4 power play goals in 17 games this season. Minnesota's 5-on-5 combinations can be frustrating for fantasy owners, as they often distribute their skill players across their top 9, but their top power play unit makes up for it and more. Eriksson Ek centers Kirill Kaprizov and Matt Zuccarello, with underrated playmakers Kevin Fiala and Jonas Brodin manning the point. Eriksson Ek should be a really productive addition to any lineup this week. Moving over to Steele's selection now, Detroit defenseman Filip Hronek is rostered in just 27% of Yahoo leagues, and he's absolutely been overlooked this season thanks to Moritz Seider's breakout. I've mentioned this a few times that Seider has cemented himself as the number 1 guy on Detroit's blue line already, but Hronek is still a top 2 blue liner for the Red Wings, and he continues to see time on Detroit's second power play. He's got 112.3 fantasy points in ESPN leagues thanks to a half point per game pace, with 9 points in 18 games this season. That includes 2 power play assists, 15 hits, and 33 blocks. So there's 2 numbers that should jump out here. Hronek's shooting percentage is just 3.7% this season, and he had some bad puck luck last year as well, but his career shooting percentage is actually 5%, so he could see an uptick in goals if he continues shooting at this current pace this year. The more important number to me, though, is the blocks. Hronek averaged just 0.82 blocks per game last season. He's nearly doubled that, up to 1.5 per game so far this year, and that's likely thanks to his increased defensive responsibility and time on that second penalty kill unit. If you need to plug a player in on your blue line, you could do a heck of a lot worse than Hronek this week. Moving on to players owned in 30% of fantasy leagues or less, I'm targeting a teammate of my first pick. Matt Zuccarello is rostered in just 27% of Yahoo leagues right now, but the streaky winger is heating up of late. Heading into Sunday's game in Tampa, he had 4 points, 2 hits, 2 blocks, 3 shots, and power play assists in his previous 2 games. He's played a huge hand in Kirill Kaprizov's recent uptick in production, and as mentioned, he mans the wing on their dangerous top power play unit. Now, he's quietly produced 13 points in 13 games heading into Sunday's matchup, and with 5 of those coming on the power play, I'm guessing there aren't too many other point per game players owned in just a quarter of leagues out there, so grab him while you can. Steele's second target this week is Columbus winger Boone Jenner, owned in 30% of Yahoo leagues, and he carries the always handy multi-positional designation at center and left wing. Jenner is centering the Jackets' top line and manning the wing on the top power play unit, and while he's currently shooting nearly double his career shooting percentage, it might be worth riding him while he's hot. Jenner's got 9 goals, 4 of which came on the power play, 11 points in just 15 games this year, and even if he's not scoring, he's also racked up 14 hits, 14 blocks, and 6 penalty minutes. Patrick Laine's injury created a huge hole in the Blue Jackets lineup and a desperate need for scoring. Right now, Jenner is embracing that role. He might just continue to do that this week. Last but not least, going to finish with players owned in 15% of fantasy leagues or less, and I'm targeting Vegas's veteran winger Evgeny Dadonov. He's rostered in just 14% of Yahoo leagues. Similar to Laine's absence, creating a cascading effect in Columbus's lineup. Max Pacioretty's injury has done the same thing in Vegas, and right now, Dadonov is taking advantage of that. After 3 years of great production in Florida, owners soured on Dadonov a little bit thanks to that down year he had in Ottawa in 2020-2021. But he's rebounded really nicely so far this season in Vegas with 5 goals, 9 points, 18 hits, 8 blocks, and a power play goal in 18 games in Sin City. He's manning the wing on Vegas's top line with the recently returned Mark Stone, and he's also earned a spot on their top power play as well. Now, Yahoo designated him as both a left and a right winger, and Vegas is one of a few teams playing both Monday and Wednesday in Week 7, so that would allow owners to move on from him midweek if they choose, or hold on for him for Saturday's tilt with the Oilers and a pretty nice 3-game slate in Week 8 against the Ducks, Coyotes, and Flames. Steele's final target in Week 7 is Coyotes left winger Lawson Crouse. He's rostered in just 14% of Yahoo leagues. He's one of the few productive Yotes right now with 5 goals, 10 points, 8 blocks, and wait for it, 44 hits and 22 penalty minutes in just 18 games. Now, Steele and I discussed Crouse briefly when breaking down the Coyotes a couple weeks ago, and we mentioned that if you're in a banger league, you need to know this guy's name. If you're not sold yet, he's on Arizona's top line and second power play unit. Now, before I wrap up this episode, I want to mention a pair of goalies that have caught my eye this week who deserve a look on any team that is desperate for goaltending. So, as I'm sure you know already, Carey Price, Mike Smith, and Peter Mrazek are all still injured, and widely owned goalies like Marc-Andre Fleury, Semyon Varlamov, Philip Grubauer, Cal Peterson, and Kevin Lankinen are all struggling right now. There are tons of managers who are likely scrambling for help between the pipes. 2 injured goalies I didn't mention, Braden Holtby and Ben Bishop, have created an opportunity in Dallas's crease, and former first-round pick Jake Ottinger is doing his damnedest to steal the top spot before either of them return. Ottinger had a nice rookie season last year with 24 starts, a .911 save percentage, and an 11-8-7 record. His strong play continued in 10 games for the Stars' AHL affiliate this year, and he's been on fire since Dallas called him back up. Ottinger has played 2 of Dallas's last 3 games, both of them wins, and he sports a sparkling .955 save percentage with a combined 63 saves in those 2 starts. Now, in between those 2 starts, Anton Khudobin got shelled for 7 goals, and I am certain Dallas is not in any rush to get him back in the net. Ottinger is just 20% owned right now, and the Stars play 5 games in the next 11 days with just 1 back-to-back. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Ottinger start 4 of those 5 games if his play continues even close to the level that he's played at, and Holtby remains on the shelf. He looks like he could be the goalie of the future in Dallas, but he's got an outside shot to steal that job right now. The other intriguing option, owned in just 16% of Yahoo leagues, is Edmonton's 3rd-round pick in 2017, Stuart Skinner. At just 23 years old, I don't think I need to remind you how attractive a young, cheap option could be to the Oilers when considering their other options in net are currently injured 39-year-old veteran Mike Smith and the 33-year-old Mikko Koskinen, who has cooled off considerably since his hot start to this season. Koskinen has a sub-900 save percentage in each of his last 4 games, and he has opened the door just a crack for Skinner. Skinner looks intent on kicking it open and making himself right at home in the Oilers' crease. He's won 2 straight after replacing Koskinen in a 5-2 loss to Winnipeg on Tuesday. Skinner is 2-2 with a .939 save percentage in 4 starts for the Oilers this season. Edmonton has a back-to-back with Dallas and Arizona to start this week off, so Skinner will surely start one of those games. They face Vegas on Saturday, and then they have another 3 games next week without any back-to-back. So that gives Skinner an opportunity to potentially start 5 of the next 6 games. Now, neither goalie is certain to remain with the big club after their veteran counterparts get healthy, but I think both these guys have a legitimate chance to enter into a committee and possibly even earn the starting job. Let us know in the comments which goalie you'd rather target or maybe any other options that weren't mentioned here today, because you know a great goalie and a potential starter is seriously valuable in fantasy right now. That's going to do it for today's episode. As always, thanks for tuning in to NHL Quick Hits, and we'll see you ahead of Week 8.